I never thought I'd be the girl who'd weave a secret in the heart of my boyfriend's home. My name's Chloe, and this is my confession, unfiltered and raw, a story of desire so sharp it cut through my soul and left me bleeding. If you're watching, you're already hooked, caught in a sin that feels like a whisper until it's a scream in your heart. This isn't about love or redemption, it's about temptation, the kind that blinds you and dares you to leap. Stay with me because this one's going to unravel you. It's a tale of rain secrets and a betrayal I didn't see coming. It was a stormy September evening in Portland, Oregon, the rain relentless drumming against the windows of my boyfriend's family home. I was 21 visiting Ethan, my 22-year-old boyfriend, for a weekend at his parents' craftsman-style house, all dark wood and quiet corners. Ethan was my safe harbor, his love steady but predictable like the rain outside. His father, Nathan, was different, 47, a retired firefighter, his presence commanding, his gray eyes carrying a weight that made my breath catch. That night, Ethan was called to help a neighbor with a flooded basement, leaving me with Nathan in the dimly lit den, the fireplace crackling. I was in a sweater dress, its wool clinging to my skin, my hair damp from the rain. Nathan offered me a mug of hot cider, his fingers brushing mine, his voice low and warm. "You look cold, Chloe," he said, his gaze lingering like he saw past my nervous smile. My promise ring from Ethan glinted, a fragile shield against the spark in Nathan's eyes, his scent pine and smoke pulling me in. The house was hushed, the rain a steady curtain, the fire casting flickering shadows. Nathan sat closer, his flannel sleeve grazing my arm as he stoked the fire, a touch that sent a shiver down my spine. I told myself to move to think of Ethan, but the warmth, the rain, his quiet strength, it was overwhelming. My heart raced as he looked at me, his eyes steady, almost daring. "You're Ethan's," he said, his tone soft but heavy, glancing at my ring. I knotted, my throat tight, my mind screaming to retreat. "Does he set your soul on fire?" he asked, leaning closer, his flannel outlining a frame hardened by years of service. The question was a match igniting a heat I'd buried under loyalty. I didn't answer, but my silence was an invitation. His smile was subtle, dangerous, like he'd already seen my surrender. The fire crackled, the rain louder, and I felt the world shift. The den was a cocoon, the storm isolating us, the house creaking under its weight. Nathan's hand grazed my wrist, his fingers rough but warm, a spark that set my nerves ablaze. My heart pounded, a traitor, as his gaze held me, urging me to fall. "Tell me to stop," he whispered, his lips close, his breath warm with cider and want. I didn't. My hands found his shoulders, the flannel soft under my fingers, his pulse strong. The rain roared, the fire dimmed, and I was already slipping. His kiss was a storm, fierce and consuming, tasting of cider and sin. My hands slid up his neck, tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. The fireplace was warm at my back, his body a wall of heat pressing me into it. The night pulsed, the rain relentless as his lips trailed to my jaw, his teeth grazing each bite, a jolt of pleasure and guilt. I was sinking, and Nathan was the current dragging me into a sea of want. Ethan's smile, his trust faded, leaving only his father, his fire, my betrayal. His kiss was a tempest, drowning out every thought of Ethan. Nathan's hands were bold, tugging at my sweater dress, his fingers grazing my skin through the wool. The den was a haze, the fireplace's glow casting shadows that danced like secrets. My hands roamed his chest, the flannel slipping under my fingers, revealing skin that burned under my touch. The rain's rhythm matched my racing heart, the air thick with pine and desire. His lips were everywhere, my neck, my collarbone each kiss a claim, each touch a line crossed. I pulled him toward the staircase, the wooden steps creaking shielding us from the house's silence. My dress was gone discarded in the haze, revealing lace that made his breath catch. My hands slid lower, tracing his belt, his gasps sharp in the quiet hall. The guilt was there cold and sharp, but it only stoked the fire, made every touch more desperate, more forbidden. His hands were on my thighs, now sliding under my lace, his fingers leaving trails of heat on my skin. The staircase was our world, the storm a barrier to the outside. I pressed him against the banister, my body molding to his, the lace a tease I couldn't control. His lips found mine again, hungry, demanding tasting of pine and want. My hands slid under his shirt, his skin warm and taut, his breath hitching as my fingers explored. The fire's glow flickered below, painting us in amber and shadow, turning our sin into something almost sacred. But it wasn't. It was raw, reckless, a collision of need and betrayal. "Chloe," he murmured my name, a plea pulling me deeper. My fingers tangled in his hair, my body arching into his, a demand he couldn't resist. The rain was deafening the house silent as my hands gripped his shoulders, his belt a barrier I wanted to tear away. The pleasure was building a storm of its own, raw and relentless, edged with the guilt of betraying Ethan. When it happened, it was a collision, a wave crashing over us. His groans were sharp, muffled by the storm, my hands holding him tight, our bodies moving as one. The pleasure was fierce, overwhelming, a betrayal that felt like salvation. The banister creaked, the night heavy with our heat, my sin unfolding. The house stood still, indifferent, as I crossed a line I'd never meant to touch. It was everything, every ache, every want, every secret I'd buried. Afterward, we stayed there, tangled, breathless, the air heavy with the scent of pine and us. Nathan's hand rested on my hip, his eyes dark with conflict, his breath uneven. The guilt crashed in a deluge, but his warmth held it at bay, a lie I wanted to believe. This was wrong, he said, his voice rough, unconvincing. I smiled, slow and broken, my lips brushing his ear. "We're not done," I whispered, and I meant it. The storm didn't relent, and neither did the weight of my betrayal. I left the staircase, my dress back on, Nathan's scent, pine and sin clinging to me. Ethan returned, soaked from the rain, his smile warm, his trust a blade in my chest. I tried to be the girlfriend he loved, laughing at his stories, holding his hand, but his father's touch lingered, a fire in every shadow, every dream. The guilt was a beast clawing at me, but Nathan's eyes haunted me, a flame I couldn't douse. I saw him again the next morning in the garage, his eyes catching mine as he fixed a shelf. Ethan was upstairs, still asleep, oblivious. Nathan stepped closer, his voice low, his hand grazing my arm, reigniting the spark. I told myself to stop to protect Ethan, but my body betrayed me. He texted later, midnight. The guest room. I went, the rain still falling, his silhouette waiting in the dark. The guest room was quiet, the air heavy with dust and desire. His flannel discarded, his skin glowing in the lamplight. His kiss was fiercer now, desperate, his hands tearing at my dress. My hands roamed his body, greedy, memorizing every muscle, every shudder. The storm's roar hid our sin, but the guilt was sharper, a knife I couldn't outrun. His lips found my throat, his hand sliding under my lace, his touch a brand I'd never erase. Ethan grew suspicious. "You're off, Chloe," he said one evening, his eyes searching mine. I froze, his trust a mirror to my betrayal. "Just tired," I lied, my voice tight, my mind flashing to the guest room, Nathan's hands on my skin. His frown deepened, and I feared he saw the truth. "I love you," he said, and the words were a weight crushing me. Nathan pushed further. "Leave him," he said, his voice rough, his hands gripping my shoulders in the guest room. "Leave Ethan burn my life for his father." The idea was madness, but I saw it a life with Nathan wild and untamed. Then Ethan's face flashed in my mind, his trust, his love, and I pulled away trembling. I told Nathan it was over. He stood in the guest room, his eyes burning his flannel open. "You can't walk away?" he said, his voice a challenge. He left a lighter behind, engraved with his initials, tucked into my bag. I should have discarded it, but I kept it a secret that scorched. The Portland rain lingered, and so did my hunger, a fire I couldn't quench. Ethan confronted me. "What's this?" he asked, holding the lighter, his voice breaking. I froze my sin, unraveling his trust, a mirror of my guilt. I confessed not all, but enough, admitting a moment of weakness. He left, his face pale, the door slamming, his silence deafening. Nathan's wife, Margaret, overheard, her eyes cold, saying she'd suspected. I was alone, the lighter in my hand, his scent, a ghost I'd never escape. This is my story, a warning to anyone who thinks they can play with fire and not get burned. If you've watched this far, you know that hunger, that ache for what you shouldn't touch. So hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, call me a fool, a sinner, or just a girl who fell. Like the video or don't, but share it with someone who's felt temptation's pull. Check out my other stories, they're just as raw, just as real. Ever chased a forbidden spark? Spill your secrets below, I'm listening and I've been there.